It has been a rough ride the past few days and weeks in the market as it reacts to the Trump tariff situation. Let's just call it a situation.
It's just a situation.
It's just a thing. It's a situation, except for folks you work with that are close to or in retirement. For them, it is not a situation. It is a very unnerving circumstance. And they are like, what is happening? I think that the idea of tariffs, it's a conversation that as a country we just haven't had in such a long time.
Right.
So it's not unlike what happened in 2008 when the housing market crashed, and it was so unfamiliar to us. It's like, what is going on? We don't even really understand exactly what's happening and how best to manage it, because in our lifetimes, we haven't seen circumstances like this to learn from and grow from. So this is where you come into play, Mr. Mike Douglas. Certified financial planner is Mike Douglas, also Michigan's retirement coach. I'm at the branch here to get Mike to give us a little bit of his knowledge on these things that we have so many questions about. Michigan'sRetirementCoach.com is where you can start the conversation with Mike and his team. Let us away, good sir. Give us your insight.
So tariffs are interesting. And the other hard thing, I think, is trying to get non-politicized, clean information.
Well, and is that not what we all want? Just the facts. I want a justthefacts.com, Just the Facts News Network.
Yeah.
Like no insight. Yeah.
And instead what we get is, well, here's what my guy's doing, or here's why your guy's dumb. Like, it's so, like, the thought that any of us could speak for President Trump to know what he's thinking is stupid. The thought that any of us could speak against him because we know what he's thinking is stupid, right? Like, we just got to deal with the reality of tariffs. And he's been pretty consistent on this. Like, if you look back, there's footage of him on Oprah in like 96 or 99 or something like that.
Really?
And he's talking about this. He's like, guys, we have a terrible trade imbalance. So this has been an issue for him for 25 plus years.
Okay.
He's talking about forever. So it's very interesting. And for us, it's so funny. Tariffs were like a thing from the past. Like, we've had them. Like, during his first term, President Trump raised tariffs on China. And then President Biden kept them in place because he thought them a good deal. So that did not go away when President Biden came in. So we act like it's a new thing. The only thing that's new is the methodology and the rate at which we're adjusting tariffs. So we're going to give some information about tariffs, and you can do what you want with it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
There were certain things put in place after World War II. And the whole idea was, while we participated in World War II, nobody was dropping bombs outside of Pearl Harbor. Nobody was dropping bombs on mainland United States. Europe was devastated. Top to bottom, all across Europe, devastation. War, death, everything. Horrible. So after World War II, we created some trade agreements. And the trade agreements were, hey, listen, we've been through a lot. We're going to help you out a little bit. You can put tariffs on us. We won't tariff you, or it'll be minimally tariffed. You know, vehicles go in two ways. And this is like, as it's grown over the years, we still have these trade deals in place that have not historically been even. Now, what's really interesting is that, so like cars is an easy one. It's a very popular one we're hearing about. The European Union puts a 10% tariff on American vehicles going to Europe. We charge a 2.5% tariff on vehicles coming in. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's like a very uneven number. However, the volume is also different. So it's deeper than that, right? Like the amount of people that European car makers are able to sell here, 330 million people, is different than the amount that we're able to sell to there.
Okay.
So there's depth in those numbers. There's other interesting things like Vietnam, where we had a 90% tariff put on us going there, but not coming back. So there's a lot of stuff, and we want to work through that. The other thing is that, you know, because one of the big things right now is, well, why would we put tariffs on every country no matter what? If you've ever had coupons when you go grocery shopping, right? And like so I remember growing up, we had this little recipe card box that we would keep coupons in.
Yeah.
And it would be sorted by item, but also then by store. Like on any given week, you may go to this store because I got a better deal over here than this store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you would say, well, I'm going to get my bread over here, but I'm going to get my milk over here, whatever. And we would do that type of stuff because we had to.
Hmm.
And that's how you would make sure you got the best deal possible. So even though there was milk over at this store, we'd buy it over here. We'd make 2 trips, which seems backwards, but when gas was 50 cents a gallon, it wasn't such a big
Right.
deal.
Right.
So we would do that, and we would say, I get a better deal over here, so I'm going to do it here. Countries are doing that right now. So, for example, we've had a pretty high tariff going with China for quite a few years, increasingly high, not as high as it is right now and not as high as it's going towards, but we had a tariff. So then what happened was China was then sending some products through other countries with a 0 or low tariff rate. So they would send the goods there and then have them sold in the United States at a lower tariff rate. It's a way of going to this store to get the same product into us.
Okay.
Delaware, as a state, has a very low tax rate for companies.
Interesting.
Kind of pivoting
Okay.
for just a second, but Delaware has a very low. So I'm from Delaware. I was born in Delaware. My family lives in Delaware.
Right.
Live in
Right.
Michigan now. And the most accurate thing I know about Delaware is what we saw in Wayne's World.
I don't remember.
They did this segment in Wayne's World where they were like he'd stand in front of a screen and they would say, I'm from Montana, pew, pew, pew. They do all this stuff, right? And then they go, hi, I'm from Delaware. Hi, I'm from Delaware. Like they had nothing to say about the state of Delaware because it's just, I love it there, but there's not a lot.
Okay.
But Delaware has a very corporate tax-friendly environment. And so a lot of companies have their headquarters in Delaware.
Interesting.
Discover Card, a lot of them. Like they'll put a headquarters in Delaware. Now, I've been to Delaware and I've been to New York City. I promise you there are no skyscrapers in Delaware like there are in New York City. But a lot of New York City companies have their headquarters in Delaware.
Interesting. Okay.
The only reason is not because they're like, hey, I'm so excited to sell to other Delawareans, right? But they say I can get a better deal by headquartering over there.
Okay.
That's what countries are doing to the United States right now. They are headquartering in places that we don't tariff. They are headquartering in places that they can run their money through. It's a shell game where they say, I'm going to make it in China, send it to Vietnam because of their free trade agreement, whatever they have, at a way better rate, and then bring it into us at a 0 tariff.
Okay.
So there's a lot of moving pieces. On the other hand, we have a lot of, and this is going to sound like I'm just like completely pro tariffs. What I'm pro is America's economy growing in the future in a sustainable way. What I'm against is $36 trillion of debt, a proposed deficit every year. Every year as a country, we propose that our best solution is more debt by a couple $1 trillion. Like that's dumb. We don't. You don't get to run your house that way. I don't get to run my house that way.
It's
so
such backwards messaging. Like our whole lives, we get taught, don't stay out of debt, don't be in debt, don't get in credit card debt. Ignore what the government's doing. Don't worry about that. We got that. It's like you
when
don't
I print
got
my
that.
own money, they get mad at me. When I print my own money, it's a crime, right? They get to do it all the time.
Yeah,
right. But that's what they do. They have this backwards thing, and so I like the idea of a balanced budget. I like the idea of, we spend less than we earn. I like the idea of a country that runs more like a company and cleans up those numbers.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily a fan of walking into a China shop with a sledgehammer, China pun intended,
right,
and just smashing everything to pieces.
Right.
It feels like maybe it could have been rolled out smoother, quieter, softer, but what are we kidding? Like who are we kidding? Like that's not the model. That's not the archetype. That's not the
Trump way, right?
That's not the avatar of the person we're talking about. So this is what he. But to be fair, this is what he said was going to happen. Right. So like the ironic part is the people who are like enraged by it. I'm like, this is the most I feel a politician has done what they said they were going to do in a long time, and now we get to go for the ride. So we'll see what happens.
All of that said,
before we go on,
okay,
I have one more thing. In 1996, Nancy Pelosi did a speech before Congress, and it was about this exact issue, the trade deficit. If you look it up on YouTube, it's all over the place. She did a speech, a presentation in front of Congress for, 20 minutes about the trade deficit. And she highlighted that, and then back then we were only saying billions, not trillions.
Right.
But her point back then was, which is very interesting, the trade imbalance with China. And she
Hmm.
said, we have a dollar and percentage deficit. But what's interesting is that, and people always think in terms of a consumer, not a producer mind frame, that,
Hmm.
hey, if we tariff China, we're going to have to pay more for the goods we buy. Right. And that's our concern.
Right.
Like
Right.
the stuff I buy got more expensive. We don't think in terms of the producer side, which is they get to hire, like right now, they get all the jobs to make the stuff that I am buying.
Hmm.
So the whatever toy you buy, whatever electronics you buy from China, your purchase was from multiple jobs. So Nancy Pelosi in 1996 highlighted that the trade imbalance was less about the dollars and less about the tariff rate. It was the job rate, that the current rate back in 1996 was for our direct exchange with China, we got 173,000 jobs. They got 10 million jobs. That's a crazy number.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the other elements of tariffs, and it's the back end to what really is what people face on a day-to-day basis. How do we survive this chaos? So to
Hmm.
understand that what's happening with tariffs is not knee-jerk reaction. It's been on President Trump's mind, on Nancy Pelosi's mind, which is crazy to think that in the 90s, they were on the same page about this
Right.
stuff.
Right.
30 years ago, they were on the same page. And now we've become so hyper politicized that if he says this, then I have to say the opposite. If she
Right.
says this, I have to say the opposite. In the 90s, they agreed. And nothing's changed in terms of the ratios, just dollars have gone up. So as the consumer, as the people who live at the bottom end of the hill that all the crap rolls down, right? That's kind of where we are. All this stuff
Right.
happens in government, in politics, geopolitical, everything else. We sit here with the 401k and say, what do I do about that?
Hmm.
I'm trying to
Yep.
retire. What do I do about that?
Yep.
I was thinking about doing Roth conversion. What do I do about that?
What do I do about
And
that? Hmm.
it's a scary time. I had a client call in yesterday and he said, it sucks that my accounts are down. Should I Roth convert because everything's cheaper? And I
Right.
said, I love your thoughts. Like it's a great forest for the trees view. He said, I don't need this money anytime soon. Maybe I should Roth convert and then just buy the aggressive positions now at a discount in a Roth. And I
Hmm.
said, that's exactly what we should be looking at. Never let a crisis go to waste. Now,
Okay.
I do not like losing money. I do not like my clients losing money. But if the market's down in the market-based portion of your portfolio, not the stuff that's hedged out by Market Guard or our other tools that we use to keep people safe, but if you are just strictly in the market and the market's down, do you say, I can't do anything about it? Or do you find creative ways to still generate future revenue? So if we say, all right, the market's down, my balance is down, but my shares, I still have all my shares. Okay, great. If you Roth convert those shares in kind, you keep the shares, and pay the taxes out of pocket. But now all of a sudden I got 100 shares of the S&P and the NASDAQ, and when it recovers, the market will recover. The market has survived World War II. The market survived World War I, the Great Depression, Vietnam, Korea, the Gulf War. It survived hyperinflation. It survived deflation. It survived the crazy interest rates of the 70s and 80s. It survived Black Monday in 1987. It survived COVID, the dot-com, the Great Recession. It survives all this stuff if you give it time.
Okay.
You just have to decide how much my money am I willing to give time and how much my money should be not exposed to all that chaos. And when this great reset or whatever we're going through works itself out and the market eventually starts making money again, how do I want to be positioned and how can I protect myself for the future? Because if you're retired, your rules are different than if you're 30 or 40.
Right. And so in the meantime, it sounds to me like a person that is in the retirement space, if they have not yet done so already, now is the time to sit down and look at just daily, weekly, monthly expenses, the gas in the car, the monthly mortgage, if you still have one, just those kinds of what do we have to pay for every month throughout the year, figure out what that is secure that part of their savings. And this is what you go through, right, in your planning process. Is this even first? Is this first meeting conversation, or is this like second meeting conversation?
First meeting is, what do you want life to look like, and where do we start? It's what we call the GPS meeting. It's just because people come in with questions about news, and concerns about life.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line, right? Because they read headlines, they see the stock ticker on their iPhone, and it says, "Oh, everything's down," and they say, "What does that mean for me?" And that's the whole life. So we spend the first meeting just hearing concerns, answering questions, and understanding where your life is and where you want it to go. Then the second meeting, we sit down and say, "Hey, listen, here's the potential roadmaps. Here's the hazards ahead of you. Here's the things we see as where you sit, where you go. And if there's any advice we can offer, any suggestions or any help we can give, we do that." But it always starts at the speed of education. That's why I love this podcast space, right? It's an educational resource. It's the ability to sit down, understand, think freely, have communication, and say, "All right, these questions line up with my questions. Maybe I should follow up, or maybe I should, reach out or whatever." And that's why we do it, to say, here's a view, see if this view matches up with yours.
Yeah. And more importantly, see if your savings match up with your goals and are doing what you need them to do. Because that's, I think, the big question mark for so many folks, is that when we've had such a great market run as we've had for the past 15, 20 years, and you've been able to just kind of coast, just put money in your 401k, a lot of good DIY investment opportunities, those kinds of things. There just hasn't been a lot of questions for people. It's been not easy, but simple. The process has been simple to save and do well. So now we're here in this moment, and you're just going, okay, now what do I do next? How do I secure part of this? How do I not miss out on when the rebound happens? All of this is involved in the planning process that Mike and his team do with folks in their office, and can do with and for you as well. If you have questions, MichigansRetirementCoach.com is our website where you can start the conversation with Mike and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes. Let's get to work helping you understand your options. There is always opportunity, no matter what is going on. So helping you understand what your opportunity may be. Let's get to work on that conversation. Again, it's MichigansRetirementCoach.com.